All right, guys. Welcome to episode 4, Momentum Podcast. Today we're going to talk about mindset. It's a big one.
Mindset and trying to stay positive.
That's right. And so, probably should have done this one already because it's pretty foundational, and it's probably one of the single most useful tools, framing your mindset in a positive way, because at least for me, it's easy to have negative ideas about things, or say, oh, that'll never work, and so framing your life in a way where anything's possible. This is where it goes to fixed versus growth mindset. That's probably a really good way to start. And there's a book by Ben Bergeron, who's a CrossFit coach, called Chasing Excellence. And I think it's like chapter 1 or chapter 2, where he talks about fixed versus growth mindset and how he grew up with a fixed mindset, and how traditional education kind of encourages the fixed mindset. And there's this one path, and you just follow this path, and this is the outcome, and you just obey all the rules, and this is the way life goes. And you're and they also tend to do the thing where you get kind of pigeonholed, where, oh yeah, he's a math guy, or people say it all the time about themselves. They're like, oh yeah, I'm not good at math, right? Like, oh yeah, I'm just not a math guy, and like, that's a fixed mindset.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not an entrepreneur. And so transitioning from that into a growth mindset is kind of a real good starting point.
But what is thinking? So, what do you think, or what's the difference between a growth mindset or a fixed mindset?
So I think a growth mindset is, I should have painted that out, I guess, as I was talking my way through that. So a growth mindset is that anybody can be good at math. Anybody can be good at anything if you just apply yourself. And so it's not so much that we're these fixed creatures with one mission and you're just not a math person. And actually Naval talks about this a lot. Like, God, what is that book? There's a book about it too, and there's a study that they did where they, I just read that book. What is it called? I'll remember later. Where they take a group of kids and they ask them a series of questions, and one of them is like, what's something you're not good at? And they're like, oh, I've never been a math person. And they actually follow them and they start coaching them about a growth mindset. And what happened was that kid in that 8th grade class who said he was never good at math and just could never be, they changed his mindset to anybody can be good at math, and he ended up being one of the best in his class. So growth mindset is adopting the attitude that if you decide that you want to be or do something, it's possible.
Versus fixed is
it is what it is.
Right.
Yeah. This is the way I am. This is the way I'm always going to be. I'm bad with money.
Yeah.
I'm bad with money, dude. Can't. It's the way I've always been. And then, well, that's the self-fulfilling prophecy. You keep saying that, and you're going to be bad at money.
Yeah.
And that's I'm the perfect example of that, because I told you that for 6 years. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Bank account's always zero, dude. I'm just bad. And the bank, sure enough, the bank account was always zero. And so what I did is, through talking to you and applying some of the techniques and learning about a growth mindset, is I shifted that to, no, I'm a saver, and I pay myself first, and I implemented systems. The first thing you have to do is realize that's possible.
Yeah.
And then you can make those changes.
Which is always the hardest, the first step.
That's the hardest part, yeah.
Which we should have started episode 1 with mindset.
yeah, exactly. So, and so maybe part of this is building out the momentum mindset and a blueprint and what that looks like, and realizing what's possible for people's lives.
Starting to realize and let people know that it kind of is like they tell you as a kid, right? Like anything's possible,
Yeah.
and you believe that for a long time until you become an adult, and then you get beat down by the world so much that you're just a very fixed, linear individual.
Yeah.
But so finding the mindset again that anything is possible and how to start looking at different things and actually building little trails to get to different places to actually start seeing the change. And
Yeah, and once you start seeing that, it reinforces. So the first part is realizing that it's possible, maybe a fake it till you make it scenario. And then once you start getting those little rewards and those little, like me, once I, $300 a month in my savings or $300 a week in my savings account didn't seem like a lot, but by the time it gets to 20,000, you're like, whoa,
yeah,
I'm doing this. And then that becomes the new standard for you. And then you continue to grow through that and on your path, and it's the compound effect.
Yeah.
And that's what I've seen. So I think that that's really important. And then coaching people to get there. So just because it's the way it's always been doesn't mean that it's the way it always has to be into the future.
Well, no, the world is constantly progressing, right?
Yeah. You wake up every day at 0.
Yeah.
0. You could wake up tomorrow and decide that you're a freaking Olympic athlete and you know that's what you're going to do and head down that path. You're not going to go and win a gold medal, but like you can radically change your life with a growth mindset and become whoever you want to be. You're limited somewhat by DNA, right? You can't you got to have good genes to be Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
So that's there are those factors, but I mean, for the most part, keeping it realistic, you can be whoever you want to be. If you're consistent and it's really the top of your mind, anything's possible.
And actively showing up, that's part of the consistency is continuously showing up for yourself within that.
Right. Showing up as that person.
Yeah.
You can't just tell yourself. You can't wake up every morning and be like, I am the best carpenter in the world, but then you don't show up.
If you don't practice and reinforce what you're saying, then you're just talking shit.
Yeah, you're just talking shit. So, consistency and building that. And then I think another thing I wanted to touch on in mindset, maybe we can transition into this, is how your mindset and how you're framing things when bad stuff happens to you in life. And how important a mindset is to how much that you let that negative thing impact you. Because some people get freaking tsunamied by bad events.
Yeah, and I guess that ties into perception, right? The way you are viewing.
Yeah. Yep.
The way that you are viewing whatever's happened to you can either be life-changing, the end of the world, potentially good, depending on your frame of mind, however you're looking at it.
Right.
The outcome's going to be different.
Yeah. Yep. Things don't happen to you, right? It's you get to decide. It's like getting angry. Oh, he made me angry. No, you chose to be angry. Emotions are a choice. And so I'll get a little personal here. And so I'm going through a divorce right now. And it's kind of been a long time coming, but I'm realizing, because I'm very cognizant of, and I deal with this on a daily basis, and I'm very transparent about my feelings, especially to myself, and I talk a lot to myself and I journal. I'm realizing that there's a number of ways that I can react to this. And some of them that are kind of tempting are not so positive ways to react to this. And some of them are more productive. And so if you frame that with the mindset that this is an opportunity, and that you can make something positive out of it, then it's so much better. Because it's easy. And I have these thoughts, dude. It's I go to the bar and freaking drink right now. Or go pick up some chicks. I can do those things are all options. And those are all reactions to the circumstance. But I am choosing to put exercise at the forefront and use this as an opportunity I now have some more free time, and I can structure my days in a more effective way to work this to my advantage.
So,
mindset.
kind of restructuring, recalibrate, refocus, right?
Yeah.
Just like Jocko says, like,
Yeah.
you have to be able to do that. Like, life's not going to be perfect for anybody at all. Like, we all know it's going to be rougher than shit. But being able to stay as positive as possible, and that one always gets tricky because you listen to like motivational guys and everything else. Stay positive. Stay positive. Fuck you.
Right.
Sometimes I don't want to be positive, but counter that with just not being negative. They have done study after study showing the effects of positivity versus negativity. And like negativity, if you just think bad shit or negative self-talk or looking at a situation with a negative mindset, I think it's like 75%. So it consumes about 75% of your brain and lingers in there way longer than positivity. Positivity is 15%. Like they hooked up neurocaps and like those studies where they talk bad to plants.
Mm-hmm.
They talk happy to plants and bad to plants.
Yeah.
Look at this one, it's very beautiful, it's a nice one, and this one's dying over the damn corner. I don't know how that all works, but they have actually done the studies. They show it's like you have 10% neutral, where your brain is not happy, it's not positive, but not negative, and then you have the negative. Negative always carries a 75% of like condensation of just always being there. And there was a guy, who the hell was he? I think they hired him at the Seahawks to go in because the team wasn't doing super well. And I don't follow sports, so I'm probably gonna butcher this, but basically they went in and the team was super negative. They weren't winning. They weren't being productive. And then he came in kind of as a coach, consultant. And he talked to the guys and said, when you're in the locker room or you're in the field or you're here, be present and don't say stupid shit. Just literally cut out stupid shit. You don't have to be positive. You don't have to be Captain Positivity running around trying to paint every picture as something nice. But just simply stop saying negative shit, which they did. And they made that one of their training models all the way through. And then I think they went like two or three seasons back to back, just killing it.
Right.
And the coach, is funny. He was telling the story, and his dad was like a big positivity, leadership, personal development guy. And he goes, my dad would always just tell me to be positive. Like, you know how bad it is when you're in a bad mood. Somebody's just like, be positive.
Yeah, it's worse.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So just break it down to stop saying stupid shit. Don't look at the negatives and don't focus on the negatives because you're already fighting a potentially losing battle. With the 75% of everything being negative and only 15 positive, cut out all the negative. Don't pre-program yourself to see things in a negative.
Right. And I think it's important to bring up the fact that there's a reason for that 75% negative. I read a book, and I might be butchering this, but I think it's by Daniel Lieberman, and it's called The History of the Human Body. And he talks about the how in human history, the reason we're wired that way is that our ancestors were in survival mode. And so we were programmed to react to circumstances, threats.
Yeah.
And so we always had to be on high alert. And the ones that survived were the ones that were always thinking about the bad thing that could happen. What could happen here? Oh, this is a cliff. We need to stay away. There's a saber-tooth tiger over there. When the guys that were optimistic and they're like, oh, there's probably no tigers in there. We'll just go in anyways. They died. And so the genes that survived...
Kind of survival of the fittest,
yes.
Right?
And so it's our responsibility as people who are interested in improving themselves to know that that's a reality, know that it's in our DNA, recognize it, and then deal with that the best that we can and recognize those emotions when they come through. And back to what you were, we brought up Jocko earlier. Jocko's book that I read a while ago, he has a whole chapter on, he calls it mind control. And it's a really, I think that's a cool term to call it, where he's like, dude, you have control over your emotions. Every time you get angry, you're choosing to be that way. And so he's like, just choose to not be angry.
Yeah.
He's like, it's really that simple. Or it's like the people that don't wake up early. Oh, it's hard. Just choose to wake up early. People ask him all the time. They're like, Jocko, how do I exercise every day? He's like, exercise every day.
Yeah.
Do
it. Just do it.
Right. How do I not be an angry person? Don't be an angry person. So the growth mindset, you are not an angry person. You're choosing to be angry.
Yeah.
And so change that. Change your mindset. So got to fight our biological tendencies.
And that goes into like a hard one that a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, fight with. The kind of a negative mindset is like depression.
Yeah.
Like, and again, trying to stay positive, because that's
right.
You talk to anybody with depression and all that, oh, just be positive, man. Life's not that bad. It can be better. And it's really hard. Like, and people just dismiss it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're depressed, but it can get better, blah, 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 blah. Like, when people are truly depressed, dude, that is a hurdle. That is a mountain to climb. But try programming yourself to be, and it's like, I don't have the cure for depression by any means.
Yeah.
It's implementing little tricks and tools and being aware.
Yeah.
Like being aware of the mindset that you're actually in, and then just trying to spend less and less time there.
Mm-hmm.
So find something else, that maybe is a positive or a neutral. Even go to a neutral.
Yeah.
But start working on shifting the way that you're looking at everything and acknowledge it. Depression sucks.
Right.
You got it. I would prefer to not choose to be depressed.
Yeah. And we still don't know clinically what causes depression, but there's been a lot of studies and a lot of experts, and Joe Rogan had a guest on. It was a while ago now. It was like a year or two ago. But one of the main causes is lack of self-esteem.
Yeah.
And it's that you can't maybe cure your depression, but you can make it a whole hell of a lot better by developing self-esteem. And the more you set goals and accomplish them, because depression stems from like a feeling of like futility and lack of control and despair. Mm. And so you can fight all of those emotions by getting more control over your life and developing self-esteem and a persona for somebody who wins and gets what they want. And so that's a super, super big tool. Again, back to growth mindset, like change the way you're viewing things. I'm not saying it's going to cure your depression, but sure can help.
Yeah, it can definitely help. And that ties in with, like, I don't know, I always think of, like, being reactive. A lot of people that have depression or a fixed mindset, like, if you think about fixed mindset people, if different scenarios come into their life, they just react to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? So it's training yourself to be proactive, to plan for change, to embrace the change. And that helps with getting the fundamentals down, the routines, the different, like, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Like, if you're just comfortable in life, you're not growing. You are working backwards. So you have to work on just building that persona around yourself that life is going to constantly be uncomfortable. But once you start liking that, then you're like, okay, what's next?
Right.
Game on.
Yeah. Challenge.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way to just consistently work through the negative mindsets and beating yourself up all the time.
Yeah. Yep. And there's all these tools and different things you can use, and journaling is definitely one of them. I feel like I bring up journaling all the time, but it's the reason that I do that is it is so important to, especially for getting in touch with your emotions. There's a lot of stuff that you really haven't worked out in your brain because it's talking at you 24/7, and it's just this constant noise. And so forcing them down onto paper and confronting some of those things and doing it through that mindset approach, I think really helps. So yeah, there's a lot of different facets for mindset, but I think that the reactionary one is good. So framing your daily, you do have options. That's the important one to recognize. Reactionary versus proactive.
Yeah.
Like, you don't You know, like the divorce thing, like it's okay, step back, take a minute. Like I took the whole weekend and was just by myself, and it's like process it, and then you have a variety of options, and you love freaking lists and being analytical and processes, and so it's like there's a lot of processes that can play out here, and so let's be proactive, let's take a growth mindset, and let's optimize for the best outcome.
And that's all you can do. Yeah. Is just try and clear your mindset, and then actually look at it. Like, be extremely objective in the way that you look at everything, because if you remove emotion out of it, which is hard to do, especially when you're in the heat of things, like you don't.
It takes practice.
Yeah, like
it takes practice.
It takes consistent practice. Like I used to get angry all the time. I was bad at like road rage. Yeah. My blood pressure, I would just lose it.
Right.
But then I had to like start talking to myself and acknowledging like, hey, you're pissed.
It's not appropriate.
Calm down.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Somebody wants to blast by me on the freeway, then I'll just get over.
Right.
Just be one of those like weird guys. Now I'm just like, do. I'm just going from point A to point B. I don't care what the rest of the world's doing. I care about myself.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of practice to get there.
Yeah.
But just being able to be objective and actually look at things and break them down and go, okay, this is what's happening. Whatever it is, it's never going to be the same for anybody. Mm-hmm. And that's generally an excuse that everybody always throws out there is, you don't know what it's like to be me. You're absolutely right. Nobody does. Nobody is going through your own unique chain of events.
Right.
So, no, but you can identify exactly what's happening in your life. Something's happening. How would I like to choose to react to this?
Right. And do it in advance. It's like you said, I mean, you didn't say it, but what you did was you fostered a new mindset. And like, so you recognize the bad behavior and you're like, that's not acceptable. And then you established a new mindset where it's like, it doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. I'm going point A to point B.
Yeah.
And it's like, so you did react to it, but you digested the information. Okay, what would be an appropriate response? Okay, and then, it takes time and it takes practice, but you can get there.
But you slowly close the gap.
And it's everything.
Yeah.
It's not just driving to work.
No.
It's everything in your life.
Well, how do you
on paper?
Yeah. How do you react to uncertain circumstances?
Yeah.
Like, you have to learn to close the gap.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you just react and you're pissed off and you're emotionally driven, emotionally charged, you're probably not going to react the way that you would if you took 10 or 15 minutes, went and thought about it, and then came back. Right?
Yeah, right.
When somebody's screaming in your face and you instantly start screaming back, do we really think that that's the best way to have a conversation?
Right.
No. But it's an emotionally charged reaction versus go take 10 minutes, take a walk, run through the process in your head, come back, and then reapproach.
And I think everything we're talking about is... So I think what people need to do is you need to become more coherent and more lucid about, like you're watching yourself, like you're in your own movie, right? And then this is where the journaling thing happened for me. Like I realized, like, man, every time I come home from work, but I'm being analytical, right? I'm like talking about me in my movie. I'm like, every time I come home from work, like I'm stressed out, and then the kids are crazy, and that causes me to react in a not positive way. When I just walked in the door and I want them to they're running up saying, hey, Dad, and jumping in like, dude, I want to be, if I was in my own movie and I was directing that, I'm like, dude, freaking go play with your kids, man. And so I addressed that, and what I started doing was practicing gratitude. I implemented the system. I had a growth mindset, and I said, I can change. I am not that angry, stressed guy that comes through the door. I'm a good father, and I'm attentive. And so I practiced gratitude on the way home. I would listen to some of Sam Harris's stuff. And then I'd sit in the car right when I pulled into my parking spot, and I would take a second and just think about everything that I was grateful for. And there's 1,000 people today that something horrible happened to, but it wasn't me. Dude, instant change. Instant mindset change. And then I'm ready to walk in the door and like, dude, my kids aren't dead. Stoicism, right? Like negative visualization. Kids aren't dead. They didn't get run over by a truck today. I'm freaking happy as hell to see them. And so little things like that, and you actually have to be less intentional about it. That's what I've noticed. You don't have to be as intentional about it as time moves on because it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
And so the more times you walk through that door where you have that positive reaction, it reinforces that habit. So identify the negative problem, be lucid and coherent enough to deal with it, understand that growth mindset is the opportunity for you to change, and then establish the habits.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, start putting in little reminders. Like if you acknowledge that you have an issue. Like
Right.
if you're an angry person or a depressed person or one of the millions of other things that you could be, like acknowledge it. If you want to move on or work through that, then start doing little tips and tricks that, Google them, look them up, watch TED Talks.
Yeah.
Like, just acknowledge. That's always the first step of anything. I think that's probably. I haven't been to AA. Is that one of the steps?
Yeah. It must
Like
be.
acknowledge
I've
that
never been to AA either, but yeah.
But I think like acknowledging where you're at, acknowledging that you have a problem that you want to change it.
And by all means, leverage. Google's a huge form of leverage. Go out there and freaking see what people have to say about it, or what I mean, and what research has been done, and tools and techniques.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't listen to other people's bullshit. For the most part, like I remember a guy was always telling me he was Captain Positivity, always trying to be positive,
Yeah.
and you just looked at him and it was just natural to talk trash. Like he was a big sticky note guy, so he'd put a sticky note on his mirror,
Yeah.
and he would read it every single morning, and he would look in the mirror and smile because he
Sounds corny as hell.
sounds corny as hell. Then I was talking to him more and more and more. Developed a pretty solid relationship with the guy. And he's like, dude, I wake up every morning and tell myself I'm fucking awesome. He goes, I high five myself in the mirror every day. And he's like, because who else is going to fucking do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very true. But it works, and it put him in a positive mindset. He started growing and developing and making huge monumental steps forward.
Yeah.
But so who cares if other people think it's stupid? Other people aren't you.
You don't like them anyways.
Yeah. Like who who are you trying to impress?
Right. Yeah.
Like if you have shortcomings or issues or whatever,
Yeah.
work on your own stuff. You don't have to broadcast it to the world.
Right.
Find the little things, the little critiques that you can do in your own life to actually start gaining traction and momentum and feeling better.
Right.
If you realize that you feel better after you smile at yourself or high five yourself every single day, keep doing that.
Right.
Like, if something is working, who gives a shit what other people think about it?
Yep. You're the most important topic. You're the subject you think about all day long. We all just think about ourselves, right? It's like, start focusing on yourself. Stop worrying about what other people are fucking thinking.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
You have to
They're fucked up too.
You have to live with yourself, and regardless of who you're laying in bed with, at the end of the night, you're with yourself in your mind.
Yeah. Especially me right now. I'm by myself every night.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, so yeah. Yep. That's freaking dude. And that's good. I think that's good. I think that is a good start for mindset and a good place for people. Start journaling. Start being more self-aware. Identify some problems. And come up with some solutions.
Yeah, start working on it.
Yeah.
Like pen and paper. Pen and paper. Get down there and write down what you think your issues are and what's a path. You're trying to build a map, like an old school pirates map. Where's the treasure?
Right.
Treasure's not being pissed off.
Right.
What are some steps that you can do? Google it, talk to somebody. You don't have to go sit in a damn therapy chair, but acknowledge it and move on. Because if you're working on yourself, you're going to be doing a hell of a lot more than most people.
Exactly. There is a solution. Go find it.
Yeah.
It's there. Quit being a sorry sack.
Just crying.
Yeah.
Don't be a victim.
Yeah.
We all have issues.
Take some accountability. Grow.
Yeah. Get after it.
All right, guys. See you next week.